Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me today. I am going to try something a little bit different. So I've been experimenting with the way that I want to present information on this channel. Do I aim for those people who are into the AI space, who really know technology, or do I make it something that each one of us can relate to? And so as I experiment with finding my voice and figuring out my best way to communicate, it is a learning process. And I know that I promised to have a upcoming video on AI's, are we creating our own supervillain? And it has been so fun doing that. I am actually still editing that video, and I'm telling you, I'm having a lot of fun. But I will also tell you that I am slow at it. So cut me some grace on that, because when it comes out, you can see that there was some fun in it, and you'll also be able to see how I am able to bring some of the modern day AI news and blend it in there. So that's coming up. Hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, we'll be completed with that and I'll have it posted. But today I wanted to do some real live action type of news. And so what I've done is I've gone through and I've taken some of the most impactful news that has come out in AI and how it's going to affect you in the future, both in the job market and also in your day-to-day life, as well as just in some really cool things that you can do. And we'll be sharing some of those today. So as I progress, please leave some comments. Let me know the styles that you prefer. Let me know the content you'd like me to cover. I'd love to take a dive at that, because after being in the industry for 30 years, having hands-on experience in the corporate world, in the startup world, and in the programming world, I feel like there's some uniquenesses that I can throw in there. If you want my take, just let me know what topics you'd like me to cover as I try to share these types of insights and give you another perspective. So without blabbing anymore, let's go ahead and dive into this. And so today I've done something a little bit interesting, because what I've done is I have decided that I'm going to just share these thoughts of mine, but I'm going to share them through the tried and true, forever beloved input of PowerPoint. So don't get too distracted with PowerPoint. I don't really do PowerPoint. So I do, however, to keep myself going forward. So let's just see here. I want to actually switch this around. Okay. Here we go. So I just wanted to say welcome, and today AI picked out this topic. I'm not sure if it's perfect for the introduction, but let's go ahead and dive in. So we are seeing a complete change in the way that our world is working today. We're seeing a complete change in the way that let me just switch here. Hold on one second, technical problems. All right, so technical challenges there, but I think we're back in business. All is well. So we are seeing a complete change in the way that AI is changing our worlds today. We're seeing it because not only in the last 2 weeks have we seen some major AI news, everything from DeepSeek coming out and challenging some of the most powerful companies and AI institutions that exist today, and being able to do it for a fraction of the cost. But then what we also saw over the last couple of days is some of the counter blows to those. So if we were using a boxing analogy, we saw a haymaker come in, we saw OpenAI take that hit, set them back, but now they're playing a little bit of a different game. And so over the last couple of days, what we've seen is we've seen a few products come out. Now, their latest reasoning model, which is the O3 model, has come out in two forms, a mini high and a mini low. These are incredible for your STEM, science, technology, engineering, math problems. They do a great job of being able to outsmart most of the PhD level individuals, humans already. And then with that being said, they're just getting started, because I'll talk on to the next piece. They also came out with Operator, which I did a review for. Operator is a way that the browser can control. You can use AI to give your browser control. And so this is a super interesting piece, because what everybody to do, not just programmers like myself, but it allows everybody to say, I do this on a day-to-day basis, and I think maybe with Operator, I can not do it anymore. So I'll give you a couple of examples of things that I've been messing with. I just recently went through a workflow. It's not perfected, but I hope I can share it. And what it's going to do is it's going to go out to X. It's going to find the latest trending X articles. Then it's going to come back and it's going to take those and put them into a research model. Then on those research models, it's going to go out and get news sources. It's going to try to find the latest information that it can so that I get information that's factually accurate. And then what it's going to do is it's going to take those articles, compose them into a video script. It's going to take that video script, it's going to send it off to a video generating service. It's going to create some B-roll for those videos so that it just automatically pulls these B-roll clips in. So if I'm talking about AI, it's going to go off and generate AI in government, or it's going to go off and say AI robots doing yard work, or whatever it is. It's going to pull those videos, interlace them into my content, and then it's going to basically take that script, the B-roll, and it's going to combine all of those into a video output that I won't even have to work on. I'll be able to wake up in the morning, have this already scheduled, and be able to watch myself present some of AI technology's latest news and what's trending. So is that where the future is going? It is absolutely possible. And was that overly complex? No. Did it come with a cost? Yes. Some of the tools that I'm using aren't very cost friendly today, but with a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of creativity, these things can be done at an enormous cost savings. And I'll speak a little bit about that going forward, but we're seeing models getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. And what does that mean for you? How long is it going to be before these things play out in your lives? It's coming rather soon. So with that being said, we want to know what's real, what matters, and what it's going to do to our economy. So I'll cover some of that in our conversation here today, but it's good to know. I'm going to share this graph here. What's good to know is that artificial general intelligence, which is classified by all sorts of different definitions, and nobody's really 100% clear on what that is, but it's often considered that if I could train a human by giving them these instructions, then I can train an AI and they can accomplish the same amount of work and the same kind of quality by giving an AI those types of instructions, then let's call it a general intelligence. It would be like just hiring a new employee. I find that we are right close to that, but right now it's only in specific fields. And so as we enhance AI, what we're going to find is that it starts becoming more broad. It's more of a broad-based thing. But let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this forecast. And so what happens here is we have OpenAI announcing ChatGPT 3. And at this point, they thought, oh, we're still about 50 years away from having a computer have general intelligence. And then that comes out, and you can see people start reconsidering. And then it's not as impressive as we thought. And then we start getting into Google, and we start getting into some of these new models coming out. Okay, it's not just one company, multiple companies are working on it, and we're seeing some success here. Then we get ChatGPT launches to the public. So this is in November of 2022. This is a changing moment that basically I think everybody in the industry has on their calendar. The first time that they were able to open it up in general public and say, wow, I am talking to something that sounds human. And that was November of 2022. And we see that we were thinking we were still about 18 years away from having artificial general intelligence. That decreased quite a bit until ChatGPT, actually, let me reconsider that. Here's where ChatGPT launched for the public, was right here. And then GPT-4 launches. So what really changed here is we see how fast we went from humans thinking, oh, we're still safe. It can't do a lot of the things that I can do. It's still stupid. I've asked it some questions. And then ChatGPT-4 launches. And then everybody has to reconsider because it only took not even a full year for us to see the difference between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4 as the public. And as the public started to use it, they go, oh, this is a lot smarter than what we thought. And so we see this drop down. We start to see this crisscross here. And this is not up to date. But I'm telling you, if we are where we think we are, this right here, this dip that we just saw right here, and this dip that we just saw here is going to continue right here. And so we are right here on this piece, and I'm predicting that we just crossed this line, and we're seeing one of these plummet here in the year 2025, because this researcher tool that just came out combined with some of the tools that OpenAI just released, really are game-changing. And so we'll cover some of those. And it's not just in AI that we're seeing these advancements, because if I take a look at some of the newest news on what's happening in robotics, this year is going to be the year of the agents. I'm bullish on agents. For those who know, they know. But what's happening right now is agents are basically employees for hire or specialists for hire. And not only are they for hire, but they can do most jobs for a fraction of the price. Now, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in agents. There's still a growing area where they can be polished, where they can be integrated better, and we're still learning how to do that. And so we're really starting that road on agents. But we'll come back to agents. We'll do more videos on agents. Today, let's go ahead. I'm going to just jump here into my... Okay, can we just take a moment here and acknowledge this video? I was mentioning how this is not just in LLMs, but across the board in where we're going with our technology. Let's take a peek at what we see in this video. This is a very impressive movement. Look at the natural motion that is so similar to humans. All right, there's some weirdnesses going on here in the leg, but once it goes airborne, that is pretty darn crazy. These are different models. You can see different types of joints and hinges, but these are performing some amazing types of balancing acts and leaping and jumping. Look at this defender. That is a get to the spot faster than them. It's getting tangled up on its own cords and have to make adjustments. It's just a fantastic and an amazing accomplishment to be able to say that we're able to create robots that are being able to simulate human movements so impressively. With that being said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the research part of OpenAI. OpenAI came out with the researcher, and I've spent the last 2 days messing with it. It's a really cool tool. Now, it's $200 a month, and on top of that, one of the things that you must know with getting into it is that you only have a limited number of queries or questions that you can ask it per month. I think that's set to 100. And with that being said, I have done a couple of experiments with it, and I play and dabble in quantum physics in the medical institutions, and my wife is involved in some of these things. And so I have actually been testing it out on some things that I feel like my area of expertise in software development and in project planning and in areas of business that I think would have been fairly challenging for ChatGPT 4.0 to do well, and even 0.3, even though I was very impressed with it, I felt like I always needed to go back in and add some clarity. But today, when I was working with and working on these latest tests using the researcher portion of OpenAI, I found that I was having a hard time asking questions for things that it left out. It wasn't easy answers. It wasn't just, hey, here's the basics. It was a thorough, in-depth evaluation with multiple pages to read and angles covered so clearly and from so many different facets that it was really impressive. And so with that being said, as AI increases in the researching areas, we're going to see a continued decrease in a need for humans to be out there flipping through books, flipping through magazines, scouring the web, because we're going to be able to see that AI can do that so much faster. What would have cost me a couple of hours of time to put together, whether it's a script for this video or whether it's research for a project that I'm working on or whether it's my class curriculums, what I'm able to do now in this 10-minute time using AI would have cost me hours before. So there's a huge time savings for almost every professional out there and every hobbyist out there who's trying to take on new learning experiences. Let's go ahead and here's a couple of examples. This type of stuff works fantastic for evaluating a company's cybersecurity position. One of the things that I used to do was take a look at mergers and acquisitions, whether a company would be a good candidate for that. These things become almost trivial, almost easy based on the right type of queries that you give it and how well you know what you're trying to do. Whether or not maybe a governmental policy is going to impact your business. You can basically give your business model, your structure of your organization, what it does, what it's trying to do, and then you can give it a reference to the current policy, and you can have it create a report on how that will affect. And I'm confident in saying that it will be better than a report that you get from any junior level researcher for sure. And it was at a 10-minute cost versus a multiple days to a week cost. So as a CEO and you're trying to get information and make decisions fast, this is a game changer. And what we're seeing is that this is getting cheaper for it's not just cheaper for one area. What's happening is we're seeing it get cheaper across the board. We're able to take language models that were super big, let's say a parameter size. We often measure our language models and how big they are, the size of them. We're able to now take a 7 gigabyte model and have it beat a 32 gigabyte model once it's been trained in the areas that we want, which means that specialized agents are going to be much easier to create and to bring to market. And this is how we saw DeepSeek come in and challenge OpenAI. Every day I wake up and there's new AI news. I saw a meme the other day, and one of the things that I noticed on there is that you had a guy who had been, I'm so high, and his eyes were all red, and then another guy had been drinking all day and his eyes were all red and really looked worse for wear. And then the next one down was, I'm so tweaked out, and it just kept going. And then the very last one after this overly exhausted and really beat up person was, I'm trying to keep up on AI news. I'm sure that is how it feels for some of us in the market trying to keep up with this. It's easy to be overwhelmed, but I hope that in a couple of minutes, I'm able to bring you some of the latest news, what's possible, and maybe discuss what we think is going to happen next, because the world is changing very fast. One of the things that's happening right now is that we're starting to get into that spot. When the internet first came out, you had a whole bunch of search engines, you had a whole bunch of websites, and it was hard to really still find what it was that you were looking for. My wife often tells me that AI is still inaccessible to most people, because I say, I don't know how this is not a bigger deal. She says it's not accessible to as many people as you think it is. And I agree that it is still a little bit of a gap between the populace and the people on my side, the tech nerds. However, every day I'm watching that gap shrink up smaller and smaller, and it will be not too much longer before anything that I can do with my experience in programming or my experience in running a business will be available to the general public. I'm interested, and I'll be doing a more deep dive on the financial impacts of AI as they come up, and that's going to be fantastic. But what happens as we start driving these tools into more significant, impactful aspects of our society? The same thing's going to happen in the medical institution. But for right now, we just have a couple of models, and those models are getting more and more complex. And right now it's becoming a little bit blurry on which model to use for when, what tool to buy, and how to integrate them. But everything is going to keep getting easier. This is the most complex it's going to get. We're going to go through a transition phase. So with this, David Hendrickson, he's a great follow if you're not already following him on X, but he brought this chart up today, and I think it's interesting because what we see here is we see that I was talking about our 2022 OpenAI release, and you can see that jobs for AI-related jobs started to peak right there, and then they started to trickle down, and then they started having some business impact. So we saw people starting to figure out how to integrate them into their business. And as somebody who is right there in the thick of this right now, we're seeing AI-related jobs starting to trend down. And why is that? I believe it's because what's happening right now is that we realize that we don't need AI experts to solve all of these problems. Those are becoming less important. And also, I believe that the AI industry has done itself some harm because we've given everybody from Joe Blow down the street to anybody who wants to be an AI expert can basically feel like they're an AI expert without really putting in much work. They can learn one or two tools, and without really knowing how to integrate things, they can go out and start marketing themselves as an AI startup. And this has led to a lot of confusion and a lot of businesses with apprehensions to figure out how to move forward with AI, because a lot of this is bells and whistles that don't actually lead to any benefit inside of the company. So with that being said, I think, yes, I do have it. Really quick highlights here. The future jobs will focus on human connections and decision making and leadership. This is our future, and let me show you a graph that kind of explains this. So this is what we would expect on a performance grid and David Shapiro is also a fantastic follow on X if you like to be in the now on what's happening in AI technology trends. He really specializes in what's going to happen when we get to the next phase. And he's been warning, I've been a follower for a long time, but he's been warning of this moment in time where all of a sudden we have to reevaluate our whole society, what it looks like. He's gone through phases of being optimistic, being depressed, being optimistic again. And so here's a graph that he shared, and his quote on, "This is the most important data of this year so far." And right, we're only in February, but most people don't understand the implications, and some of us do. And so for me, for David Shapiro, for people who watch Impact Theory, or a lot of these videos and blog posts and podcasts that touch on AI, one of the most important things that we can feel like we are doing right now is just bringing awareness to general populace. Because if you're in this space and you understand exponential growth, you understand that the time that we have to prepare for these things, to strategize for these things, to figure out what we're going to do individually is going to be running out. And this chart brings this to life better than most any chart I've seen. And this is so fast. In 2023, July of 2023, AI was dancing around where human PhDs using Google outside of their specialty. So I'm a researcher, I have my degree in biochemistry, and I want to learn a little bit more about perhaps the heart. And so I do some research, and this is where I end up, is I end up in this 35 percentile range, right? So if I was given a heart test, I'd basically be able to say a PhD level heart test, I'd be able to get 35% on it because there's enough overlap there, right? And this is going to be the same across the board. So you're a doctor, you have your doctorate in something, but you're studying something outside of your specialty. This is your baseline right here. And then what we see is we see all of these charts of where models have come out and where these tools have been released. And we see that in 2024, just a year ago, we see that, hey, ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo was smarter than a PhD level who was studying outside their specialty. It's not somebody that you're just a trivial person on the street. And then only a handful of months later, here we are, we see in May of 2024 that ChatGPT 4 comes out, and it substantially beats a PhD human who's outside of their charts. Okay, great. But now we fast forward just until the year 2025. This chart doesn't quite line up, but the O3 model has now come out, and the O1 Pro model that came out at the end of December, it was in December of 2024, you can see that it's actually outscoring into the near 90th percentile on these tests. So you basically have a human PhD in your pocket if you're subscribed to these models. Anything that you want to know, any kind of information that you're trying to search for, if you can form the question properly and get it into one of the O3 models, and this was O3 before researcher. Let me put that in perspective. This was before researcher. So researcher is higher than this, and it is going to be absolutely incredible to see the kind of breakthroughs that we're going to see. I've been watching some people who are posting on X about the ways that it's helping in cancer, the ways that it's helping in businesses, the ways that it's helping across the board, and it is going so fast. So my question for you is, what role do you see AI playing in your life? I'm curious, do you see this impacting your job? Do you feel like your job is AI proof? Do you feel like the trend for us to go into AI is scary? If you do, all of those things are completely understandable because nobody really knows where we're going. Nobody really has this figured out. And if you're interested in following this type of information, I'm going to try to get these out more regularly. Like I said, let me know what you think about the format. I'm going to be getting out that video that I've been having fun with. That's going to be coming out in the next day or two. So make sure you subscribe because the villain that we're creating is a PhD level villain if we don't get it right. So let's make sure we get it right. Anyway, I sure appreciate you staying with me till the end. If you're interested in classes, if you're interested in talking to me, right now, my whole business model is service first. So reach out, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.